Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. I just finished watching Hunters on Amazon, and I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's a little far-fetched, but it's kind of like you wish it happened, kind of like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood type thing, and I thought the story was, good, and kept me entertained, and I especially loved the sets. I mean, I was 5 minutes into it. I couldn't get to IMDb fast enough to see who decorated it, and just gorgeous, rich color and super layered. I just thought it was gorgeous. So I emailed the decorator, Kathy Marshall, to see if she'd be on the podcast, and hopefully we're going to try to make something work. So I hopefully have that coming up. But really fantastic sets for that. So congrats to her for that. I also would like to say thank you for pushing play on this episode. It's going to be a real treat. Ethan Goodwin has the position of a buyer in the set dressing department, and I could not do my job without a buyer at this point. In our industry, the hurry up and wait, as we have in set dressing, you have to make very quick turnarounds and figure out logistics of everything getting to the set, and it's really hard. The buyer has become a vital position in this new golden age of television, and there's high expectations for every episode. Not that sets weren't hard to accomplish 10, 20 years ago, but now the demand of every episode being like a feature quality, it's a really great accomplishment just to get an episode done. Ethan and I have worked together on shows like Bones, Parks and Rec, Love, Veep, and we just started. We're back together again with American Crime Story, The Impeachment of William Jefferson Clinton. He's one of my besties. He's a genuine talent who has a great taste for furniture and the look, and just is a fantastic problem solver. As a buyer, it could be very isolating because you're in your car all day, you're driving from prop house to prop house, you're going to stores, sometimes 4 different IKEAs in one day, whatever it takes. So being a self-starter and someone who can, get tasks done in a timely time frame is really, really important in that position. Buyers also deal with getting quotes and double-checking orders, and in my office, the first thing is finding the best happy hour deals around the lot. I'm so excited to have Ethan back on my crew, as you'll hear our excitement in our voices in this interview. Ethan's credits include the upcoming Perry Mason reboot, For All Mankind, Homecoming, Gone Girl. I mean, just a fantastic resume. We discuss so many things, from him starting out to being a set deck coordinator and then shopping for period shows. I've broken this up into 2 episodes, so I hope you enjoy. Hi, Ethan Goodwin.
Hi, Kim.
I'm going to say that this might be my most awkward interview because we're such good friends.
I'm very nervous.
No, I know.
I just want to do a good job.
Or what was really awkward? Sean. When I interviewed Sean, also it was like the second interview I did, and we were like held up in that back bedroom. It was like a sweat house, and it was so hot. At least here I've got wine and cheese for you.
Is that why his was like 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Mine'll be like 15.
Yeah. You have so many things to talk about. How did you start this magnificent journey into being a set deck buyer?
I went to film school in Boston, and did my last semester out here in Los Angeles, and worked on...
At Emerson,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And I worked on a Nancy Meyers movie called What Women Want. Mm-hmm. I was the art department intern. So I drove down.
Did you hear any Mel Gibson slurs while you were there?
No,
No.
I didn't.
All right,
And I was living in Burbank. And so I white knuckled it all the way down to Culver City twice a week. And I sat in the office with the art coordinator and PA and just, helped out. And I got school credit for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's like being paid and having to pay at the same time.
Exactly.
Were you paid or was it?
No, I wasn't paid. It was just school credit.
Well, you're paid in experience because
exactly. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to actually go on any runs because I wasn't an actual employee on the movie.
Insurance-wise, they won't let you.
Yeah.
I think working in an art department in the very beginning and just seeing what everybody does.
Yeah.
And all of our different titles that we have, and someone never touches a pencil and this other person never touches fabric. And
yep.
And then I always thought delivering floor plans to like the grips. And seeing like, oh, well, what are they looking at on this floor plan? And
yep.
I definitely think the film business is a very hands-on. I didn't go to school for film, so I don't know. Do you think you needed to go to school for film?
No, not at all. In fact, I wish I hadn't gone to school for film.
Yeah.
I wish I'd gone for like art history, maybe.
Yeah.
It would have been more helpful.
Absolutely.
But I didn't know any better.
Yeah. No. I went to school for interior design, and I think that helps me more.
Yeah.
No school that I was going to go to would offer film, and my parents probably wouldn't have let me.
Yeah.
That was cool that your parents let you like study film.
Yeah, that's true.
They let you go for it.
As far away from Nashville as I could get. But I love my time in Boston, and I saw some great, Boston. I had some really good film theory courses. And
yeah. I'm sure it lends to...
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah.
And it to have affected you, like, just knowledge that you had on the job, at least when you got there.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you have to watch, like, Citizen Kane? And
I did.
Yeah. Citizen Kane and Groundhog Day.
Not Groundhog Day.
Oh. And then you moved here in the late 90s-ish?
2000.
Yeah. And you have this stunning little career that you just jumped right into big movies. Do you think? How did you... Because you went into Life with Dick and Jane, right? Was that your first one?
Oh, Fun
with Dick and Jane.
Fun with Dick and Jane.
Which was a big movie at the time. It's Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
That was a big movie.
That wasn't my first. But I had... So... I have to give credit.
Hold on, let me scroll down 5 pages to on your IMDb page. Wind Talkers was your first?
Yes, Wind Talkers.
That
up
was
in
not
Valencia.
A good movie.
Well, I never saw it. But we were shooting.
You don't need to.
In Valencia. The crew had just come back from Hawaii, so that was my first movie.
Okay, let's just talk about your first 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you did Wind Talkers, was still a big budget movie at the time. Hulk. Something's Gotta Give. I don't know what Forever Eden is, sorry. And then Fun with Dick and Jane. I mean, you really just stepped in shit right out the bus. You didn't do any softcore porn stuff.
No Roger Corman movie.
No, you didn't do any Hallmark like I had to slum in.
Well, I had a really good... My dad was a high school art teacher, and he had a student, one of his favorite students, Andrea Carter, is an art department coordinator here in LA. And she got me that internship on What Women Want. And then she also helped me get my first art PA job on Wind Talkers.
Oh, well.
And the crew that I worked with on What Women Want, after I finished The Hulk, which I was just the art department assistant on, they hired me to be the art department coordinator on Nancy Meyer's next movie, Something's Gotta Give, and I got into the union on that.
Wow.
So I tell people...
Oh my God.
You meet so many people on your first job. You meet so many people on one production.
You do.
That what seems initially like a really daunting process of starting a career freelancing, you can just get... you end up getting job after job, and suddenly it doesn't seem so hard.
Yeah. Well, but you started out on, like, big shit. I mean, you... I started out doing this, like, set PA and office PA, and then I got a job on this really small film, and it was turning union.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know what that meant. And no one told me either.
Yeah.
And I was like, the buyer and the draftsman and the PA, and I did everything. And no one ever said, like, hey, kid, we're all, like, jumping in.
Uh-huh.
And Shay. I knew her, like, way back when. John Zachary. And I always feel like, man, I wish they would have been like, hey, we're all jumping in the union. Maybe we could find a spot for you. And obviously, I feel like if it was available, they would have helped me.
Uh-huh.
But to be that close on my second job.
Oh.
But so I didn't know how it worked, that you kind of follow with people or you hope that they, you know, bring you along to your next one. So I was like, fuck, this is ending in like 3 weeks. I gotta get a job. So I sent out resumes. I got a job on Wheel of Fortune. And the production designer, like on the last day, Franco Carbone, says, hey, so I got this movie. It starts in like a couple weeks. So we're all gonna go do that. And I was like, oh, I got a job. And he was like, what? He's like, where'd you get a job? I go, oh, I got a job on Wheel of Fortune. He goes, what? How did you get a job on Wheel of Fortune? I go, I don't know. I just thought this is ending and I got to find a job.
Uh-huh.
So I just went out. I just kept sending resumes. And so I didn't know that it is sort of customary to, like, you keep with a group if you can. You keep with people that you work with, or like you said, like the lead man. Like, so I didn't know that in the beginning at all. I was on my own. I had nobody helping me. I didn't know anybody.
But I can't believe you worked on something. So your second gig went union.
Yeah.
Wow.
The second gig went union.
See, that's lucky. That seems very hard to do these days.
Yeah, but I didn't even know. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I don't know what that means to everyone here. I'm just like gonna go get some sandwiches.
Yeah. I don't feel like there's many productions in town that turn like they used to.
So that was 99 or 2000.
Yeah.
No, it was very hard. And it was a super small movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how it turned itself, but yeah. So you were art department coordinator, and then you went into set deck coordinating.
Yep.
Which, at that time, 2005, for Fun and with Dick and Jane, that was a new position.
It was.
Yeah, and why do you think that they needed it?
Because it's more work than art department coordinating. It's tracking a set deck budget.
Tracking all the purchases, tracking the rentals, the POs.
I really had to fight.
Cash.
I mean, that's the trick with that position, and thank God it is actually recognized now, because when I was on Monster House and I was set deck coordinating, I was still union. I was in 871, but they told me at the time that I was the first coordinator at Sony, set deck coordinator, to actually get 871 benefits.
Wow. That's
and
awesome.
So, yeah, it felt good at the time.
Yeah.
And then I did Fun with Dick and Jane at Sony. I did 3 Sony features set deck coordinating, and I got my benefits each time, but I had to tell them. They were like, oh, well, you can't, that's not an 871 position. But I would refer to the last show, and they would pay it.
And
then I would tell everybody else, all the other coordinators, look, if you get a job at Sony, you have to tell them that you can get paid.
It is important to have that openness with everyone.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, if you want to know what I make, I'll completely tell you. Like, I just think because other people have used that to their advantage in getting the same rate. It's the same job. It's the same gig, and it's different networks and different movies or whatever, and we should be paid the same. It's ridiculous that it's I mean, we're union, so you start out at a base and then you negotiate up, obviously. But, if the last person at Sony negotiated $300 more and then they're only going to offer you just base, if you know that, you go in with that knowledge, and it's powerful, and it works.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's definitely something that I'm very big on, and other decorators, and I'm very open with that because it helps us all.
It totally does.
Yeah.
I'm like that with other buyers now, and about, what the rates and perks you get, because it is helpful to know, because they will always try and lowball you.
Yes.
And the art department coordinators have had a tough run of it.
Oh,
and thankfully,
absolutely,
they have banded together in a way in the past 2 years that has made a real difference in just getting their rate up.
Because here's the thing, that's a stepping stone position if you want it to be.
Right.
So it's good to do it. It's knowledge of the department. You're figuring out why money's being spent where and how we move it around.
Yep.
That type of thing. What kind of research we're doing. What our days are like. But it's not, I don't know how to say it. If you got to do it. It's a shit position, but you got to do it. And we've all done it, and we've all gone through it. And it's valuable in that you got to learn from it and then move on. Yeah, that's what I think. If you want to move on, if you don't, and that's your gig, that's great. But take from it what you will. And I think in this business, 2 years in a position, maybe 3.
Well,
and then you gotta move up. You gotta get something. Yeah. You've mastered.
Well, it was certainly a stepping stone for me.
Yes,
I couldn't get out of it fast enough.
Yeah.
Not everyone is the same.
I was an art department coordinator, I think 3 times, and I was awful. I was awful. They'd start talking to me about clearance, and I'd be like, I don't know.
Well, I never really liked art coordinating. I did like set deck coordinating, though, because I liked to...
I never set deck coordinated.
I mean, I actually liked tracking budgets, and on the features I was doing, they're like $1 million set dressing budgets.
Yeah.
But you also get to see where the buyers are shopping, and you get to kind of know the vendors and the prop houses that are useful for what sets, what kind of sets you're doing. So I kind of used that knowledge.
Yeah. No, and that's perfect. That's what you should do. Because it becomes to a point where, like, at a decorating standpoint, like, I don't deal with a lot of stuff anymore. I don't deal with a lot of paperwork anymore, in the sense that, like, I approve stuff, saying, like, yeah, I rented from there, and then, like, the paperwork comes in and everything, and we go over it when we see the invoice and stuff, and I'm very bad at double checking an invoice and approving it, so I know that. But that position has now become vital, especially tracking the budget, and also the wrap. The wrap of a show is very important when you're going to come back next season, and you got to catalog all of your inventory and everything for set deck. It's really important, that position. Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's become a lot more. They should be paid more.
Oh, completely.
It's what is it, like 1,000? I don't know.
No, they're up to, I mean, I think set deck coordinators and art coordinators are getting the same rate now.
1,200?
It's more than that.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, there are oddly still some studios like Fox that don't recognize a set deck coordinator as a union position, even though it has been that way for years now. But
different studios have apparently make their own rules that they get away with in the union, and Fox is one of them. Of, like, they don't recognize an on-set dresser; they just call that position another set dresser.
Well, it's crazy.
Yeah,
and it's such a vital.
Or a buyer.
Yeah,
a buyer, they'll make a set dresser to get away with not paying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we could not do our job without the set deck coordinator. I mean, the coordinator I just worked with, Paul, on Perry Mason, was genius. I mean, he took care of so much stuff and was so trustworthy and helpful, and it just was amazing.
Kenzie, that I've had the last 2 shows. A lot of the coordinators that I've had, although a lot of them leave me.
It's a stepping stone, Kim.
Yeah, no, and that's good. That's good. I have Kenzie right now, and she's fantastic. Yeah. She's into it. Yeah. And she's got a bit of an attitude, and I like it. She's sassy, and I like it. So then, how did you get into being a buyer? Because you are a set deck buyer.
So I was working with Denise Pizzini, who was decorating.
I got to get on this.
What?
I got to get her on the
podcast.
Podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because fascinating enough, I mean, she's a designer. She was a set decorator. She's a designer, and she's fantastic, and she's funny.
Awesome.
She's a good
So I was coordinating for her. I was set deck coordinating on School for Scoundrels, this movie. And she had just taken a design job on another movie as soon as that was over. And she wanted me to art coordinate for her. And I said, I cannot coordinate one more movie. I'm not doing it. I have to get into 44.
Yeah.
Because I had decorators that I had coordinated for that were calling me at that point, asking me if I was in 44 yet. Because they wanted to hire me to shop. And I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I told Denise no. And she said, all right, Ethan, look, this movie is going to turn. Oh, so why don't we...
Genius.
We'll just hire you as a set dresser. And you can set dress, and then hopefully you can start getting your days. So I agreed to do it gladly, just to set dress. It was this little Morgan Freeman movie called 10 Items or Less, and I actually got 31 days on that movie.
Wow.
As a set dresser.
That's awesome.
So then I started taking all of my, classes, and I got into 44 in 2006.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You just have to make it happen. You have to say no. You finally have to turn down jobs.
You have to turn down jobs. Yeah. I remember I left, what about Brian? I was the art department coordinator, and Derek Hill was the production designer. Mm-hmm. And I remember being so nervous to tell him, hey, I got a call to be a set decorator on this Hallmark film. I'm going to make so much less than art department coordinator, but I have to do it.
You got to let people go.
And he was like, I get it. Yeah. He was like totally cool. And I left like in the middle of like a pilot or something. Like I always feel bad about that, but you gotta do it. And everybody understands.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I joke that plenty of PAs have left me. You understand.
Yeah.
And people need long-term jobs, and you gotta work and you gotta eat. So
everyone's happy for someone to move up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Completely.
Yeah. So can you describe what a buyer is? Besides being my
well,
my bitch buddy. Let's just sit here and bitch about everything.
I mean, we're out in the field all day. We're, dealing with the vendors at the prop houses, the shops, and driving around town all day. Yeah. Finding stuff. I mean, lately, most shows now seem to have 2 or 3 buyers. And so on the show I just finished for HBO, there were 3 buyers.
Perry Mason.
Yep. And it was just sort of a divide and conquer mentality.
Yeah.
We got our own sets, and...
well, I think that's the way to go. I've learned that from trial and error. You can't split a setup.
No.
Because it gets too confusing.
It gets confusing. I mean, occasionally we would help each other out. It was just too much.
Oh, you're looking for this. I'm here.
Yeah.
I think it works like that.
Or if you have, end up having one day to shop an entire set, it's like, oh,
unless your buyers are...
Someone needs to do art. Someone does rugs. It's that kind of thing.
Or if it's or if people are competitive.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. But yeah.
But the hardest part is, you just have to plan out your day and how you're going to get it all done.
You have to be a
You're
self-starter.
constantly making mental lists in your head about how am I going to get this all done today. And, I tend to start...
And have lunch. Please stop for lunch.
I tend to start further out and work my way back into town or closer to the office. But, you might pull over in your car half a dozen times and look at your list again and think, did I get enough artwork? Yeah. Do I have enough...
because the thing is, too, that a lot of the times the buyers don't see the location or the set.
Well, that was the problem on my last show.
A lot of times you're sort of like, okay, this is the character, this is the set, and then you go out and shop it. Mm-hmm. A lot of that happened on Veep.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It was a lot of, like, we don't have drawings, we don't have this yet.
No,
but
exactly.
It shoots, 2 days.
You're looking at pictures online of a location you've never been to.
Yeah.
And then you're getting texted from the, we get text from the decorator, sometimes the day before,
by the way, the drapery is like 104. Well, yeah, make it work.
Because things change every day. Yeah. And sometimes you're just getting notes the day before.
Yeah.
So, you really have to...
Do you think that the job has gotten harder?
Completely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like in the last 5 years, I think this job
yeah.
has gotten harder.
It has.
And I think that's because the expectation of the quality of television has gotten harder. The expectation is just higher.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
The streaming
and even network.
Yeah.
I mean, even like
they
a good
expect
place.
feature quality.
Yeah. And
because when we were on Bones, I mean, even in the early 2000s, if you were still on a network show, you would be, you knew you had 10 months of work.
Yeah.
And you do like 24 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, the last 3 jobs I've done, one for HBO, one for Apple, and one for Netflix, it's 8 or 10 months to do 8 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Or 10 episodes because it's feature quality.
Yeah,
and
they're shooting longer.
Yeah. The budgets are higher. And they expect you to turn it around. And so we keep pulling it off, and it just makes them think that
you can do it.
That's
the problem.
That's the norm.
Yeah, that's the norm, and
that's why TV shows have 3 buyers now.
Yes.
Because it's just too far away. On Perry Mason, our sets were so they were all over town. I mean, and then someone told me that we couldn't the way the tax credit works in LA is that you have to shoot in all of the cities in greater Los Angeles to get the tax credit.
Oh.
But we would have 2 sets, 2 or 3 sets a day.
I don't think Veep abided by that.
No, I don't think they did. Veep had their own rules.
Oh, yeah, I think Veep is its own entity, and they were just like, we're so glad to have you back.
Yeah.
Just spend the money wherever you want.
Yeah.
I think Veep had they had to shoot at Paramount a certain amount of days.
Yeah.
And on location a certain amount of days to spend the money like in the area or whatever. But I remember, I don't think they were close to our stage days at one point, and it was like, we need to build this, we need to be on stage type thing.
Right.
I think. I mean, sometimes you hear shit and then you're like, oh.
Sometimes producers don't help you out with stage days. It's always a break for us, but if they give it to you. But...
Well, I was saying that with Good Place on the other podcast, like the 3rd season, that Adam and Ian were like, oh, we love season 3 because we were in the real world and we were on Earth, and I was like, no, we didn't have the backlot.
Yeah,
we didn't have Michael's office for a day. Like, that's hard. My crew runs bell to bell every day.
Yeah,
like, it's hard. This movie, the movie Moxie I just did, it was all locations. There was not one build.
Yeah.
We didn't have a gold room. The guys had to drive to location every day. It's a mess when you have that, and it's chaotic, and it's really hard.
People don't realize how much crew it takes to pull it all off.
Ugh.
Because you think about it, you have a crew.
And good crew. Yeah. Committed crew.
Yeah. You'll have a crew wrapping one set, dressing another set in another part of town, and then picking up for the next day.
Yeah.
So you end up with so many trucks and drivers and set dressers, and
yeah.
It's
you lot. Hear stories of like, oh my God, that show has 26 trucks on and 78. Like 78 swing people, and you're
it becomes notorious.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. And about your job, what do you hate, like, on your day-to-day? What note do you hate to get, or like what do you like, oh God, I don't want to do that?
Well, the hardest part is just getting around town and fighting the traffic, and again, like I said, figuring out how to get it all done and hit everything so that it makes sense, and then of course, if you shop out the valley and then you're on the west side and you get a note, a last minute note that sends you back to the valley, it's it's just
it's not 10 minutes.
No, it's that much.
It's the rest of your day.
More time, yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on what you're pulling, it can take.
Smalls. It takes a great amount of time.
Yeah.
Because as when you walk these aisles and you're pulling, like, say for an office and you're pulling for cubicles and you're like, oh, this is kind of easy. Okay, it's just 10 of the same lamps or 20 of the same lamps. It's 20 of the same this and this and this, and then you're like, oh, and then I got to give them character. Okay, so. Cat, I don't know, people like cats. You get some cat shit in there. Okay, these people like snow globes. Or like, and you're trying so much to give these little like coffee cups and
you just have to go with
pins
it. Because every day is so different, and what you're thrown is so different each day that it doesn't really. You just have to go in with us,
Yeah.
You just have to surrender to it because that's the job.
But don't you?
And if you can't, you'll go crazy.
Oh yeah, I think all the time about like locations that we've shot in, the gorgeous locations and homes that we've been in and been like, oh my gosh, what is this?
Yeah.
Or the gross like chicken factories or like gross like homeless encampment type places. I always think like I would have never had this experience. I would have never been in this room if I didn't have this job.
That is an amazing part of the job.
Yeah. And then to watch us all transform it into, a banquet or a railroad. Like it's crazy the amount of imagine that we have to transform all these locations. That's one of my favorite parts.
Completely. And when you're in a home, then seeing the homeowner say,
yeah,
watch you work. Oh, I never thought to put that there. Or can I keep those drapes?
Yeah, you idiot. We're always like, because we're always big on blinds, and it's always custom.
Yeah.
It's always like, oh, they're like a half inch off of like Home Depot. And then you go and you spend an enormous amount of money on blinds because you have to have them like in 2 days. And the homeowner's like, I never thought to put blinds there. Can I keep them? And you're like, yeah, because we're never going to use them again. It's one of our biggest like, hey, let me talk. Well, yeah, I'll let you keep the...
Yeah.
Just don't talk about that scratch on the wall. Or like, maybe don't talk to locations.
I love when you can do that. You know, when they're happy with the, and you can just.
It's a compliment. I take it as a compliment of like, oh, you like those drapes? Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
You've let an entire film crew for whatever reason come into your house. You deserve to keep that.
Why would you let like 80 people stomp into your house?
Exactly.
But people do it. I don't know. What is your interaction with the decorator? When you let's say your decorator to the swing gang and the designer, like what is your interaction with the rest of the department?
Well, I mean, you're in constant interaction with the decorator all day. You have to, and at the end of every day, you have to formulate kind of a plan for the next day, where you're going to meet or what.
If it's me and Ethan, it's like, what place has a 3 p.m. happy hour? Then we can discuss the next day. We just want to go, be done, and have an early happy hour. We've done that. That was before kids, but yes, we've done that. But yes, you're constant talking.
We're
all
in
day.
constant contact.
Yeah. And then you have a lot of relaying to pickups and invoices and accounts with either the coordinator or the lead man.
Yeah.
Or the swing guys are picking up furniture and they can't find it.
Yeah. I mean, it's texts all day long.
Yeah.
But, I also...
What did we do before texting? I have no idea how this job...
Oh.
I don't know how they did it. I don't know.
You'd have to go,
You beep someone and be like,
You had a walkie and you had your Thomas guide and then you go print your
Thomas
pictures
guide,
out.
Yeah, and you had a Motorola.
Exactly. A Nextel.
Yeah. You'd pull over and make a call, I guess. And then at the end of the day, you used to have to go to like Kinko's and print out all your pictures.
Yeah.
That's
and then
crazy.
you make folders. You post them and put them up in folders.
Yeah, in manila folders. That's when we were on the cusp of that, like the old school, new school of buyers or design, like printing, outsourcing printing to in-house printing. And then it was cartridges galore, just going through ink cartridges constantly. And now it's just like, just send it to me on my phone.
Yeah.
And just put it in an online folder and it's all there for me to look at.
Dropbox or cloud. Yeah. It's just all there.
I hate Dropbox. Yeah. And do you have much interaction with the production designer?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes. But it's usually filtered through the decorator.
Yeah.
Which, unless they come to you for something specific.
Yeah. Well, they know you're the one, out there.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times the designer, knowing the buyer, will be comfortable and be like, hey, I really want to make sure that we have this in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good. And
I mean, it's hard for the decorator these days, you know? I mean,
I can't think of anything.
Just with the constant tech scouting and meetings and, you know.
And I can't think of anything. I can't. I've made up templates like, don't forget drapes, don't forget rugs, don't forget this. And I'm still like, oh shit, I forgot to get rugs. I forget rugs a lot.
Well, that will always happen. That always happens.
Not thinking about the floor. And then you make the swing gang go to a separate prop house to go pick up the rug. Last thing, you get it on set just in time, and then the first thing they do is pick up the rug.
Yeah.
That's always a bummer.
Well, what happened on my last show is that, you know, because there were 3 of us, you know, we'd each, at the end of the day, we'd hand the lead man all of our pickup envelopes, and we might have as many as, you know, 20 pickups each. Going to the same prop houses, but he would separate, you know, he would designate a certain truck just for one set.
Right.
So the crew's constantly running into each other at different places, picking up different sets. Mm-hmm. And me and the other buyers are running into them at the prop houses too. And you sort of, it's like, oh, what, are you on my set? Or are you on this set?
Because you couldn't just send them, say, to Lenny Marvin to pick up everything.
Yeah. I mean,
because all that dressing would be in one truck and then would have to go to like 3 separate locations. So you have to do it by set.
It gets...
I don't really know how the guys do it.
I don't know how they do it. And it gets very chaotic. But with so many crew... But, you know, each set we do is usually... There's usually a gang boss, or it's spearheaded by some set dresser. So you know who your point person is, you know, for the pickups, or if you need to get more stuff, or
if there's Michael. That's all I have.
A problem on the set, you know, God forbid.
Oh my God! If there's a problem on the set, don't even talk about it. Whenever Jordan calls me, I've said whenever he calls me, I shit my pants. Whenever I see his name, I go, oh no! And he now knows to answer the phone. Everything's okay.
Yeah.
They were just wondering if anyone could have flowers. It's like the same conversation all the time, and he freaks me out every time. This is how I wish I was in every interview. This interview is how relaxed and honest I thought every episode would be, but pretty much can hear in every other episode how nervous I am. Talk about our current and past shows, the good and the bad. I'm just so thankful that Ethan was honest and gave me the time for this interview. So thank you again to him. And like I said, we have another interview coming up in 2 weeks. I'll post that podcast. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages. Decorating Pages is sponsored by Stogie Floaty. Float 'em if you got 'em. Luxury pull floats. On sale now at stogiefloaty.com.